causes of a war seem simple, but they are usually a combination of many complex economic, social, and political ideals that lead to a significant event which starts the war. World War II began as a result of the way World War I ended and all the unresolved issues of the Great War. The Great War, World War I, was ended by the Treaty of Versailles. Since Germany had lost the war and many felt had done the most damage, Germany was considered to be the responsible party and required to pay reparations, money paid to the winners of the war to fix their countries, or basically war damages. Germany was forced to reduce the size of its army from over 1 million to 100,000 men, and the amount of weapons and ammunition allowed in the country was also reduced. The Allies, Britain and France, were trying to ensure that Germany could never be a military threat again. In the 1920s and 1930s, there was a worldwide depression called the Great Depression in the United States, which created worldwide economic problems. But these problems were especially devastating to Germany, as they were using most of the country's money to pay reparations. The German people were starving, and Germany was considered the villain of World War I by all other countries. As a result, the German people began to follow Adolf Hitler, a man who promised to fix their economy and bring back the national pride of the Germans. Hitler and the Nazi Party was voted into power with these promises, and he also used this opportunity to blame all economic problems of Germany on the Jewish people. He also began to rebuild the military and increase the production of weapons. No country stopped him, even though he was violating the Treaty of Versailles. Most countries did not want to get involved in any military entanglements after World War I, so Hitler was able to continue Germany's military rise. The United States especially wanted to remain isolated and out of any military problems in Europe. One way Hitler and other leaders like him in Europe tried to regain power and reputation for their countries was to increase their empire or take over land. The German military took over land in Europe called the Sudetenland, which belonged to Czechoslovakia. Rather than engage in any military combat, the countries of Europe allowed Hitler to keep this land as long as he promised he would not do anything like that again. This was called appeasement. Hitler did not keep his promise and began to expand into other European countries. On September 1, 1939, Hitler invaded Poland. This officially started World War II. Page 2. Germany continued on its attack of European nations using a tactic called blitzkrieg, a lightning-fast attack by overwhelming forces, typically aerial attacks. Many European countries fell to the Germans, including Holland, Belgium, and France. Great Britain became a focus of the German aggression. President Franklin D. Roosevelt wanted to help their ally, Great Britain, but the U.S. public still supported isolationism. Roosevelt and the U.S. Congress began to lend military equipment to Britain. Japan, an ally to the Germans, had invaded China and was trying to expand their empire as well. Roosevelt cut off all trade with all countries except Britain, which left Japan without steel and oil from the United States. Japan saw this as an unfriendly act. Japan, thinking they could keep the United States out of the war with a devastating strike, launched a surprise attack on the United States Navy installation at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii on December 7, 1941. Over 2,400 Americans were killed, 20 warships were sunk or damaged, and 150 planes destroyed. This did not have the impact the Japanese had anticipated. The next day, Roosevelt called for a declaration of war against Japan as well as Germany, their ally. The United States was in the war. Americans first went into Europe with the idea that Japan would be their next target after helping the British. Watch the recap video with this link right here.